What is up, Babylonians? Dan was here, and today we are going to have a Dev News Thursday. Yes, they are back, and they are talking about the Arbiter Farm exploit, talking about the overall balancing of the game, and also going to touch upon the Apocalypse tier grind. So let's take a look at their latest news update. So here we have the worldslayer dev update on Reddit. So this is their first Dev News Thursday since the release of worldslayer, and there's a few things here that people might be happy with and people might be disappointed with. So let's have a scroll down and have a look at what they do say. So philosophy of design, we are always aware that it's the natural player behavior to gravitate towards the most efficient ways to complete content within a given game, even when those ways may be less fun. A key goal within the game design is to ensure that the most efficient ways of playing the game should also be the most fun. This theory can be applied to many things, from what content players choose to engage with, example farming one spot instead of playing the full breadth of content, to how players engage with content in general, such as choosing certain builds for their overall power even if the long-term fun factor is quite low. Which is fully agree with that. A lot of people do go for the shortest way or quickest way to get the best loot, and they also go for the most powerful builds because, again, that does sort of coincide with the fastest way to get the loot as well, thus getting you to an even stronger build if possible. Now if we scroll down to here, so the realignment of the Taria Gratar rewards. This is something that could potentially upset some people, but also excite others, because it's going to add a bit of longevity to the game. It's going to give you more reason to play through some of the other rooms. So the changes in this section are planned to be implemented via a back-end update next Tuesday, so that's June 12th, announcing them now to give everyone enough time to access the current reward structure for a little while longer, but also give us time to review feedback and make sure that we're on the right path. So a large number of players have been abusing an exploit which allows them to bypass all other content and infinitely farm the final Arbiter in the trial of Taria Gratar. Now we won't go into how we do this because we don't want to actually put it out there so that more people start doing it, but it is a way to constantly farm the same spot over and over and over, more so than the way that you can just redo it 3 times. It's actually, let's say, an infinite amount of times that you can do it, but they are going to be trying to remove that exploit if possible. So they go on to say a code-based solution to this exploit would take a very long time to develop, as the only viable way of closing it properly would be to rewrite the entire way save games are handled whilst in Taria Gratar, which is not feasible. The current exploit is only in place because we purposely designed the retry system within the trial to be player-friendly. We did not want players who need to take a break from playing or whose internet connection momentarily fails to be punished with lost retries or be sent back to the start of the trial. As mentioned, the philosophy of design, as we did last year, rather than punish players to reduce overall farming opportunities, we would like to realign your options to give you more choice rather than less. So what they're going to do, so they're adding an extra guaranteed Apocalypse Legendary RNG drop to the following trove areas. So that's the Cliffside Path, the Daughter's Sanctuary, and the Arboretum. So this guaranteed drop as well will correspond to the targeted loot option for the respective trove. So if it's got a targeted loot of helmets, you'll get helmet, gloves, boots, etc. We are reducing the final Arbiter's Apocalypse Legendary drop rate, but the choice of the legendary rewards, so the 3 choices that you get, remains unaffected. These changes will make the trove areas of the games more attractive, whilst also helping ensure an overall run-through of the trial becomes more rewarding than before. So compare it to the before, the amount of Apocalypse Legendaries obtained from a full run was a minimum of 6. Obviously, you can get more than that. But in the new system, a complete run-through of all rooms in the trial will actually net a player a guaranteed minimum of 9 Apocalypse Legendaries. So that is 3 more of a minimum, but obviously you can always get more still. The most efficient way of farming Legendaries should therefore shift to something more fun and variable, rather than players feeling like they need to repeat the same fight ad infinitum if they want to be as efficient as possible. Now, going into something that people are going to probably not be too happy with, that's the balancing of builds. So another topic that I wanted to touch upon was that there are some builds that are far too OP. Not OP in the sense that they are more powerful than other options, but OP in that they circumnavigate mechanics within the game and do something that they shouldn't do. So a lot of people saying that their co-op partners are just putting their controller down because they're instantly killing everything. They can't get to anything, can't get any hits, not getting any damage at the end of the expedition or at the end of the end game, Terra Qatar. So a few builds can instantly one-shot bosses regardless of difficulty level, making all content trivial and ruining co-op fun. So if you're doing solo play, fair enough, you might enjoy that, but co-op play, other people aren't really going to be having as much fun as you are. So whilst outputting huge numbers of damage is what the game is all about, doing so during a boss fight should be something players build up through the flow of battle, rather than being able to do so in the first few seconds of the fight. One build allows players to become virtually indestructible, while still outputting a large amount of damage. Players running this build can face tank multiple hits from the final boss and not even drop their shield. Whilst there is a reason for tank builds to exist, we feel there should be at least require a modicum of challenge to keep the game interesting, which I fully agree. A tank build shouldn't necessarily be able to take the hits and deal infinite damage. They should be able to take the hits, but still have some sort of skill required in order to take those hits, rather than just standing there and doing nothing really. A different build has excessively reduced skill cooldowns, so the skill cooldowns are non-existent, and whilst they agree more skills is more fun, almost entirely removing cooldowns is problematic to the overall balance of the ecosystem of the game. So the effectiveness of most of these builds is based on specific handful of mods, and it only increases as players continue to level up. They allow players to completely ignore everything going on in a given battle, and thereby remove any challenge the game might have offered. As always, when such options are available with the game, and as knowledge of them becomes more common, they will completely invalidate all other choices, even if those choices are more fun to play. As I see, the philosophy of design section, and that's based on, if you can do something quicker, you're going to do it quicker. This argument is similar to the way pre-Horizon Fortress blocks one weapon's mod slot because changing it to anything else would always have been a loss in output. One way or another, the builds mentioned here will need to be addressed in the future, and while we identified these issues last week already, we deliberately chose not to immediately nerf them. So they're not going to change anything today, but they are aware of them and they are going to be looking into what options are available. So instead, they're making their time to observe the prevalence of these builds, but also to identify the areas of the game where we can buff the players. An early example here would be Trigger Twitch Sets Bonus, which they have currently earmarked for a significant and tasty buff, so I can't wait to see what that does, or what that comes out to be. The plan is to ensure that when balancing is implemented, players are actually given more options rather than less. So you're not going to always have that one trickster build, that one techno build. You're going to have a lot of choice is what they're planning to actually do. Overall balancing pass will be implemented in the larger patch in a few weeks' time, but the time ahead will allow us to continue gathering valuable data about which areas of Buildcraft game are over and underperforming compared to our vision. We will always, of course, be reading comments, thoughtful discussions regarding this matter. Now, moving on to the Apocalypse tiers grinding. So, what they say here is, finally, I want to mention the Apocalypse tiers, as the rate of progress has been a topic of discussion since shortly after launch. Understanding our initial vision for Apocalypse tiers and ascension levels will help explain the way they are currently implemented. From the way Outriders was designed and what we observed from players over the past year, the game is most fun when build crafting, finding new gear and mods, or experimenting with new build ideas to see which armor best synergizes with what mods, coming up with a difficult encounter and needing to make improvements to a build to overcome that challenge. Playing and enjoying the sandbox nature that Outriders' large spread of viable builds creates. Rather than maxing them out being the main goal, Apocalypse tiers and ascension levels are intended to be there throughout the journey of continual build exploration and experimentation. They are there for the many players who, purely for the fun enjoyment of it, continue to invest hundreds of hours in the base Outriders game, even after having completed Eye of the Storm on Challenge Tier 15. The newly introduced mechanics in worldslayer are primarily intended to give such players a long-term progression path, something that makes every play session worthwhile, as you will always be leveling up in some way. being able to max out all tiers and levels within 1 week of launch would have been antithetical to the idea of providing a long-term progression system. That's the vision. However, it is a fine balance to strike our intentions for aspects of gameplay. Shouldn't mean that the final completion is so unattainable it's off-putting for players who may consider maxing out Apocalypse tiers their only goal in the game. We are also keenly aware of this debate within the context of players wanting to max out multiple classes. For now, we can say that we're closely monitoring how players engage with Apocalypse tiers. Depending on our findings, we may well make some adjustments or soften the grind in the future, but we feel that 1 week after launch is still too early to make changes to a system that has intentionally been designed to last longer than a week. I fully agree with that. If you want a game that you can finish in a week, Outriders or the Worldslayer is not that game for you, in the sense that hitting Apocalypse tier 40 as a casual player is going to be a long grind, and fair play, I fully agree that's what it should be. I believe the developers said to us that they aim for the end game to be around about 200 hours worth of playing, and I believe that's going to be per character as well. So that's going to be almost 10 days solid of playing. So if you're finishing it within a week, then you have got to get some more sleep. But fully agree that it should not be that quick to finish. Bug fix for Tiago's mystery purchase and elite offer reroll. So this was apparently, if you didn't have Worldslayer content, you could do a reroll or a mystery loot, and it had the potential of giving you the option to purchase a apocalyptic tier weapon or armor, or get one as a random drop, but you wouldn't be able to use it because you haven't got the Worldslayer content. So they're getting that fix in there, which should allow people who haven't got Worldslayer as of yet confidence that they can use Tiago to its full effect. And that's it anyway for their Dev News Thursday for this week. So as I say, we'll see the patch on Tuesday, or the small patch on Tuesday, and then they are building up to a larger patch in a few weeks' time. So we'll look forward to seeing when that does come out, and if there are any other changes that they can tell us about before then. Thanks for watching, keep yourself safe, keep yourself well, we'll see you in the next video.